So you've got your product manufactured, and you just know it will be a huge retail success. But wait, what's next? How do you sell it? Who do you talk to and how? Will retail buyers take you seriously? We're here to help. Here's another episode of the Retail Propeller podcast, featuring your hosts Scott Smith and Brian Barber, starting now.
Today we have international food consultant Tim Forrest. Tim shares how he went from loading trucks to selling hundreds of millions in wholesale in the food industry.
Tim talks about the wholesale to retail selling process that he uses to sell to big buyers and his 9 pillars of sales presentations and how he uses those 9 pillars to take the work out of the buying process.
We talk about wholesale to retail launch strategies and why you must consider the implications of starting out selling to big box retailers before you have a firm grasp of what challenges your product may have going into retail.
One of the things I really appreciated about the interview is that you can really tell that Tim has an expert understanding of the wholesale to retail selling process, and he's not afraid to share his knowledge with us.
Let's go ahead and jump right into the call. Tim, we appreciate you joining us on the podcast today. If you could just go ahead and explain a little bit about what you do and what you're working on today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. I'm a food consultant in the food industry. I've been serving food brands for the last 30 years. I actually started out loading food trucks. So 30 years ago, I was loading food trucks. Actually, once I got promoted off the loading dock, I actually was driving a truck. My first delivery was to a Super Value owned store. And if you can believe it, 6 a.m. And if you can believe it, fast forward 20 years, Super Value, I just recently organized. I was on the Super Value corporate jet leading a team of their retail guys on a fact-finding and field trip and just showing them some different things at retail before they were getting involved in a major initiative. And so they asked me to help organize this little field trip and got to do it with about 15 of their corporate guys. So it's been an incredible journey, and I've learned so much, and that kind of demonstrates the progress from pushing a hand truck to being on a corporate jet. It kind of shows you the extent to my, I guess, knowledge and experience and what I've been exposed to in the food industry.
Yeah, Tim, we really like your story because you started out, like you said, driving a food truck, right?
Yes. Yeah, after I was on the loading dock actually loading those trucks, and then I was promoted up to a relief driver, and then I was given my own route.
Wow, that's amazing. So how does one start out as loading food trucks, and now I know that you're doing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales in the food business, wholesale business. How does one get from that point to where you are today?
Well, it really goes back to your thinking. It's nothing more than thinking, a lot of luck, and some great relationships. I've shared with you before about the idea. Let's take some simple mathematics, number line theory. On a number line, between 2 points, any 2 points on a number line, there's an infinite amount of points. And I relate that to there's an infinite amount of opportunity anywhere you are, right where you are right now today. There's an infinite amount of opportunity in any direction you look, in any opportunity, whether it be your contacts, the products that are around you, the opportunities in your neighborhood, your home. It's just, it really is unbelievable the amount of opportunity that exists. And so I had a great attitude, made things happen. Friends of mine helped me out. And the way I actually ended up working for the largest food company in the world. I'm driving my truck. We didn't have, emails at the time. So a friend of mine called and left a message on my home answering machine. So I got home from work that day and there was a message, Tim, there is a territory sales rep job open for Unilever. You need to apply for that job. And so 4 months later, lots of interviews. I was a territory sales rep for Unilever and managed state of Georgia for them. And that kind of, working with the big guys, I ended up working with Unilever as well. I was a Southwest area manager for Nestle. And so the systems, the methods, the information and data, that was so important, along with the application of that data, is really what helped drive the markets for me. And that support, I learned so much about how important the support is to a product. Yes, we're product marketing, but really we're supplying consumers with unmet needs, and we're we're deriving value by sharing information and data with buyers to help them make the most of any product opportunity that we bring to them. It's really just an answer for consumers' needs.
So we're real excited to get you on the call today to talk a little bit about the wholesale to retail selling process, because I was reading a couple press releases out on 10forest.com, and you launched Keebler cookies into Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, just the same, the same thing we were talking about. There was a lot of work. There were a lot of processes and information that we had to work through, but it also comes down to relationships. My roommate from college was a professor at Emory University, so I asked him for some help. He did some translation work for me, and so that assisted me there. I had no idea where to go to get Arabic translations, but he helped me out. And he sourced the friend for me that ended up doing that. And then it took a little bit of work, but I figured out the process of how to do that. We brought the product down to Jacksonville. We put it in a warehouse and then floated it over to Saudi Arabia. We had to, you had to load it on containers and then swing it on the ship and then float it to Saudi Arabia. We did that. And that became a really big business, really helped. When I was working with Keebler, is a great training ground. I learned so much, and I doubled the every year at Keebler. I doubled the business of that region.
Wow!
When I left the region, they actually hired two people for my region, the southeastern U.S., to manage that. So that's
amazing.
Yes, and it's just a matter of doing the work and getting out there and making the calls and following up and having an action plan. And just going at it. It really is that simple.
So a lot of our listeners are wholesalers that are trying to get their product or grow their product into the retail market. And I wanted to talk to a little bit to your 9 pillars of your sales plan. So I know that you've got this 9 pillars that you've created, and I this is something that I actually go back to and refer to myself. I've got it bookmarked, and I really like it. So I wanted to talk a little bit to that. How did you come up with the 9 pillars of market action, selling to retailers? And could you talk a little bit to the first couple steps in that?
I put together a big program years ago for a national retailer, and I was really excited about it. I actually worked on that presentation longer than anything I'd done at the time. It was 3 days. And so I took it into the meeting. I was so proud of that presentation. It was literally a book. I was so proud of the presentation. Put it on the desk for the buyer, his copy, and then I had a copy as well. I was going to walk him through it. And then he took the book and he slung it across the desk at me and said, "I'm not reading that book." And he said, "Tim, here's what I want you to do." And he said, "You got your pen and paper?" He's like looking at me, I'm like terrified because this guy was very important to me in my future. I knew. So I got my pen and paper out. Here's the 4 things I want you to do. He goes, do this, do this, do this. And he told me exactly what to do. I did that. 4 meetings later, 1 year later, he ordered national programs from me. First time this client had ever bought from the company, my client, and it became my first $1 million account. And they in total $1 million in 1 year sales. And it was exciting. I mean, this territory was only doing 600. So that process started me thinking about what do I need to be doing to do a better job in my presentations. And then fast forward, lots of learning, and then having exposure to a lot of big company presentations like Budweiser, Kraft Foods, some of the Nestle, Unilever, some of the biggest presentations. I started seeing basically systems, ways that they do it, and just, I hate to say this is like taken from the table of contents from some of those presentations that they've learned over the years, but really roughly that's where this came from, is from prior presentations and just going through and just noticing these sections in the PowerPoints and the presentations, and then just grabbing it and thinking about it. And then I rework. It's not, they didn't have these sections in the PowerPoints, but this is what they were talking about. This is what I have to present when I work with certain clients. So I knew this was it. And I said, this is something I'm going to put together and just put it out there for people so they understand. And it really, when you understand these 9 points, and I'll just really quickly, I'll run through the categories, the sections, and then we can talk about each one. But product innovation, creative execution. The third one's being consumer centric, having consumer insights, retailer insights, consumer connected, strong brand, traffic builder, and then everyone. It is so important to have a business case. There's so many of my clients, they come to me, they don't even realize when they show me a presentation or PowerPoint, they don't even realize they have none of these in their presentation. What they come to me, they're like, look at this great product. We really designed it well. Look how beautiful our logo is. Look at this. It has 18 ounces in it or whatever the size is. And it's a product description. So what they need to do if they're going to get into a presentation, my suggestion is the buyers professional buyers are accustomed to seeing this information from the big guys because they're dependent. They're dependent on the largest suppliers to coach them and instruct them on the moves to make. The largest suppliers out there, they actually are the ones that organize the set. Your competitors, a lot of times, are going to dictate where you are in the store. And so you think it's the buyer, but it's actually the category leaders. So what they're bringing in, and we'll just really jump down really quick, product innovation. It's really simple. When you go talk to a buyer, you need to be talking to him about an unmet consumer need in his category. It's just, I keep saying it's so simple, but really it's that simple. So if you bring him a product that is not meeting an unmet need, the only way you're going to get in there, if you'll even get in there, is with a lower price point. And you're going to really not help him. You're not going to help the category because the category manager, the buyer, he wants to increase dollars, increase ring, make it more profitable. His bonuses are not set on a deteriorating category of losing dollars. Even though he might beat you up, he wants a lower price point. At the same time, he wants more throughput. He needs more revenue from this category.
Do you have a great product manufactured that's a perfect fit for retail?
Do you want to know the best and most actionable steps to take to go from where you are now to bringing your product to the shelves of retail stores, large and small?
Go to retailcrashcourse.com to start our free wholesale to retail online course and learn exactly how to get your product into the hands of thousands of retail buyers.
This course is valued at $297, but it's absolutely free of charge for the listeners of this podcast.
So head over to retailcrashcourse.com right now to get started.
Now let's get back to the show.
And I'm going to link up this 9 pillars of market action to fix your sales presentation that Tim shared with us. I think this is an incredible value that you're offering our listeners. And I wanted to make a point that, a lot of the wholesalers that we work with create a product, or they've got a product they want to bring to market, but they're expecting a sale to happen when they want the buyer to do all of the hard work and research and just pay them for their product. And I think what you've done as we get into these 9 pillars, Tim, is you've actually taken the work out of buying to make it a no-brainer decision.
Yeah, well, they're not the buyers, professional buyers. They don't have the time to work for you. They're not going to work for you. And then if there's 3 other guys doing the work already, how are you going to get the sale?
Yeah, and I mean, what I hear you saying is you went out to these big buyers and you've asked them, what is it that I need to do to get a sale or earn your business? And then you've taken that back and created this 9 pillars, which basically encompasses all of those points that need to happen in the sales presentation. And I think that's why this is a big value.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived this. I mean, this isn't a marketing exercise that I went and asked these buyers. These are what I use to do the sales. And when I'm talking about sales, I've had $1 million orders from buyers. And in the food industry, that's, for me anyway, I was very excited to get that $1 million order. It's only happened a couple of times in my entire career. And I've had buyers buy 26 truckloads from me at one time. I've had 22 vendors I've commercialized for the club store sector. I've had 12 items on QVC Television Food Network. This is what is going to drive business. You're not going to get around it. If you want to work with any kind of a sizable opportunity, this is what it's going to take for the most part.
So the next step in the 9 pillars is the creative execution. And in that you say demonstrate with your packaging and programs your unique capability and effectiveness at getting noticed from your target market. Could you talk a little bit to that point?
Yeah, it just be smart about everything that you do as it relates to getting attention for the product on the shelf or however it is you're going to market it. If it's going to be online or whatever you do, You need to creatively use the best resources you can. You want to have the best artist you can, the best web designer, the best package designer, the best everything that you can do to make it to the best of your ability within your budget. I'm not saying you need to go out and spend all your money on a designer, but you need to do the best that you possibly can to execute and to be successful with that. And so it needs to be smart. It needs to be a reason. Why are you using this color? Why are you highlighting this particular issue? Why are you showing this? Why aren't you, different? If it's a food product, why can't the consumer see it? Is there a window to see the product? There's just so many different things that you want to do. Why is the package shape, the package design, as far as sitting on the shelf? There's just a thousand, there's unlimited amount of ways to do this. But the idea being is that you actually thought about it, and that the execution or the creation of your package and your product relates to the consumer need.
And then we get into your next step, which is the actual customer centric. And you say, demonstrate how your product packaging and programs resonate with your ideal consumer.
Right. Yeah. You want to just show that you're thinking about the consumer. If your ideal consumer, the primary consumer, is a woman, you wouldn't want to come in there with a masculine type product. Or it's the same thing. If it's a child's item, don't, demonstrate that you understand who the primary buyer is, and work towards that, and demonstrate that you understand that person.
And going forward a few slides, I think one of the most important slides that resonates with me is your traffic building slide. And what we see a lot of is that these entrepreneurs and wholesalers are bringing a product out, but not really giving a plan or a business case to these buyers as to how this product is going to increase their revenue or do something good for them. Right. Yeah. So many folks that are selling product and trying to be successful through retailers and distributors at wholesale, they don't realize that buyers are excited about, and there are other competitors out there bringing to them traffic building programs. So there are companies out there, my clients, we do this. We create programs where we're going to drive retailers, and we tell the buyers about them, and that's a big part of why we're doing it. We're going to take programs and show them how to build traffic for that product. If we have an innovative new product, for an example, here's just one way to do it. You're at a local sporting event or a local fair, and you give out coupons, and on that coupon you have a list of your retailers in the area that stock the item. That's a traffic building program. Stop in, Ace Hardware and pick up this our new tool. Yeah, I think some of the more successful wholesale sellers or rep groups are putting together ways to add more value to the sale, and I think that's a great point. If you can deliver, like you said, a marketing program or some type of value add as an additional value to purchase your product, you're going to have a lot more chance to sell into that retail outlet or buyer than maybe your competition, right? Yeah, absolutely. And in your competition, they're doing it, and it's not something you see or you may be aware of, but it's something that's going on in the background. It could be a coupon, FSI coupons in the paper. It could be something online. It could be some other event marketing that's driving traffic to the retailer, but it happens. And even within the store, the category manager, if you can deliver customers from other categories into his category, that makes them excited as well, because those are his numbers, that's his budget. And along the same lines, I've got the business case in there, and so many people they skip this as well. They expect the buyer really to make to do the math and make the decision, but you really need to help them to understand what the impact of your product is going to be in a store. And the way you do that is you need to understand what your sales are per locations. I'm assuming you have some sales somewhere that we can use to try to build or extrapolate a formula so that a 10-store buyer or a 100-store buyer or a 1,000-store buyer can understand what the sales are going to be. And you can start talking about, we're going to have this amount of sales. What you obviously should know what the profitability is going to be. You can have a number there for profit. You can have a number there for revenue, and just demonstrate that and show that with facts. Yeah, Tim, and I think, one of the things that, and I've followed you for some time, one of the messages that really resonates with me that you preach is that, we've got a lot of clients, or we have a lot of wholesale buyers that reach out and they want to start huge, right? They want to go straight into Walmart, or maybe Bass Pro Shops, or Cabela's, or whatever this, Walgreens, CVS, these, 100 or 1,000 chain stores. So what advice do you have for someone that's bringing a product to market for the first time? They may have, never brought another product to market, but they've got a great product on their hands and they just don't know what to do next.
Well, number one is, my first thought when you mentioned this is caution, because those big guys, they're concerned about their job. They're employees of a big organization. They don't like risk. And, anything you get them to do, if there's an issue or problem, they're going to run from that. And so if you are not firmly in control of your business and understand it, the big guys are not where you need to be learning your business and making mistakes. Because what's going to happen is you'll be excluded from ever participating with them in the future, regardless of the product. A lot of times if you just totally blow it with those guys. The other thing is, with talking about funding and big guys like that, the more money you make, the bigger the mistake can be when you have a new startup. Also, when you're working with big guys like that, problems aren't little when you're working with 1,000 stores. And so, I had a friend of mine that he was in 500 stores. He was in a few hundred stores in the Northeast, and he's very aggressive. He actually was taking everything he could to go in and expand his business. He very quickly, in just a matter of months, was able to get into 5,000 stores nationwide, which is great. And everybody goes, it's terrific. The problem was he really wasn't prepared for that. His packaging did not travel well. So he actually had trailer loads of product that shipped. And because of the way they packaged the product, the labels rubbed in the trucking. And he had incredible returns that almost put him out of business. But basically, he ended up losing his local market because he was traveling all over the country, worrying about these larger accounts. So what brought him to the table, what brought him to the dance per se, he lost that. And then very quickly, he was in the 5,000 stores, but he was out of them just as quickly. And then he's actually not even in the food business today because of those issues, because of those things. He just grew too fast, didn't handle it properly, and really didn't understand what he needed to do to be successful. What he's told me he wished he had done, and what he should have done, is number one, taking care of his local market. And then number two, done the things nationally that made him such a success locally. And that's to be a category leader. He was number one. He was making sure he was on the shelf. He was making sure the proper signage was up. He was in stock, had good displays, but all the different things that you need to do to be successful and be a good supplier and a good vendor. He was doing those on a local level. And then also, when the mistakes he had locally, he could run over, fix it. And it wasn't a truckload of merchandise he was concerned about, or hoping the insurance company was going to pay off on this lost truckload of product, or that he could rework it. And so those mistakes he made when he was little, small in his local market, those are much easier to handle than when you go out there and just pop up and all of a sudden overnight you're in a 2,000 locations.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. And, Tim, one of the biggest things I respect about you is that you've been able to successfully, for yourself when you started, as well as your clients, which is a big thing, is to secure reorders and grow your business. And what I found, Tim, is that a lot of the wholesalers that I talk to, may be able to get a huge opening order, like you said your friend did. But then what about the business that comes after, right?
Correct. Yeah, the way you make money in this business is through replenishment and long-term reorders. You're not selling to load warehouses up. You're really looking for products that have a purpose and need in the set and can grow from there. That's where it's at. That's where the real money is. It's the same thing with clients. I'm working with clients that I've worked with 10 years ago. I know people in the food industry. I'm working with people in the food industry that I worked side by side with 30 years ago. So I'm very fortunate there. That's so important, is that it's not a quick, there's no quick fix. It's not instant. I did my first year of my business, 17 years, I did $2 million in sales the first year. But for the first 5 months, I had zero business. And the business I did drive, all of that was because of prior relationships and understanding the industry from years of work that went into that. I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go into the food business and then create $2 million in sales. It just doesn't happen. It takes so long to do anything, to make anything happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let me ask you this. Any of our listeners that want to work with you, Tim, who is your perfect client, and how do they reach out to get in touch with you?
If someone has an innovative product, I want to work. I mean, I'm excited to work with people that are innovative and have great new products. In my mind, when I review the opportunity, I'm always saying, can I help this person grow by $1 million in a year? Can my contacts, my experience, my methods, is this going to be something that can really, really have a potential to grow and go? And so, I want to be, if I can get excited about it and think about, that maybe I can help them in that method, then that's the type of company I want to work with. I'm very fortunate in that way more people approach me about working with them than I'm able to actually work with. And, my goal has always been to just basically be me and not grow up, not grow into a giant, any kind of an organization. I just wanted to be I guess they call it solo practitioner. So that's why I enjoy writing and studying and research so much. I'm so much into that. I'm working on a couple of books as well, a lot of the things that we're talking about. And so hopefully those will be complete. Those will be complete this year. All the artwork's been done. The artists were so fast. I have one with 22 illustrations. It took six months to get those done, but we finished those last year, and now I've got to finish the book.
Very nice. And we will link up your 9 pillars slide deck that we talked about, as well as your website, timforrest.com, that our listeners can go to find out more about Tim. And Tim, we appreciate your time today. I really do appreciate all the insight that you brought to us. And any of our listeners that want to work with Tim, just head over to timforrest.com. And we appreciate it, Tim.
Hey, thank you very much, Scott.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Show notes for today's episode can be found at www.retailpropeller.com/Tim Forrest. There you'll find a recap of the interview, as well as links to Tim's website and his 9 Pillars resource. This show exists to help you sell your product to retail buyers, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to help you achieve that goal. So if you have any guest suggestions or topic ideas, please shoot those to brian@retailpropeller.com, and we'll do our best to work that into the show. If you want to help the show, you can subscribe to us in Stitcher or iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a review. We thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. We thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.